Hey, what's going on, guys? Garrett here, and welcome to another video of Code the Web. In this video, I want to talk about staying ahead of the game in your web design career. So, a lot of you guys are just starting out, or you want to get to be starting out, or you're still learning, you want to get there eventually, or even if you are someone who's been doing it for a while, it doesn't matter. It's really important to stay ahead of the game and be the best that you can be throughout your career. And so, in this video, I'd like to talk about some ways that you can do just that. Alright, so before we get into ways that you can get ahead of the game in your career, let's talk about how it used to be and where we're kind of all used to coming from, and this perception that we have in our minds of what the web design landscape or freelance landscape really is like. So it used to be that in order for a client or anyone to have a website, they had to have some knowledge, at least very basic, but knowledge nevertheless, of HTML and CSS. And if you were willing to put the time into doing that, you could do it on your own, right? But if you weren't, then you'd have to go after a developer, find a web designer, whoever it is, and you would pay them really, really good money to basically do it for you. But now it's still like that. You definitely can do that. There are people that do that. Actually, I don't know the exact statistics, but I know a lot of people that do that still, and I know a lot of people that have actually gone after website builders instead of paying someone because they're cheaper, or they can be cheaper, and they're easy to use, they're intuitive, and if you're the kind of person that's tech savvy and you want to, like to do things on your own, maybe that's the best option for you. But the other side of things is that takes business away from us freelancers. So in a way, all of the, web design or website builders out there, and we'll get to a few examples in a little bit. I have one right here, as you guys can see. Those are kind of our competition in a way. And so those are massive companies that can pretty much do whatever they want. They can make it as easy as they want for people. They can have beautiful designs, as you can see right here in front of you. And I'll show you guys over the next 5 websites after this one, or 4 websites after this one. The competition is only getting tougher. It's only getting harder. And as web designers, as freelance web designers, we always have to be ahead of the curve. So here are a few of the really good website builders that our potential clients could get instead of us. So here we go. First is Squarespace, very popular. I actually remember when Squarespace started. And boy, have they ever grown into something incredible. Next, you are probably familiar with, I believe, 23 or 28% of the internet actually runs on WordPress, which is kind of a ridiculous figure to think about, that an absolute ton of websites that you may use on a daily basis use WordPress, and you don't even realize. I mean, WordPress is such a capable website builder. It started out as a blogging platform, I believe, and now it's kind of morphed into this like fully functional website it's called a content management system, but this fully functional website builder that I even myself use from time to time. So next is Wix. You probably have seen their commercials on TV, and if anyone out there, an Entourage fan like myself, you probably noticed that the character Lloyd, I don't know what his real name is, but his character, the guy that played Lloyd, Ari's assistant in Entourage, actually has a big spot in these commercials, so they're definitely gaining some popularity. Next is Weebly. They've been around for a very, very long time, and they have a lot of partnerships with a lot of website or web hosts, such as HostMonster, which is the company that I use, I believe HostGator as well, so very popular. I don't know if they're as good as the others. I haven't used them in, maybe, I don't know, probably at least 5 years. I haven't used them since, way back. So I don't know what they're doing right now, but they're obviously still around, so they can't be that bad. And then the last one that I have for you guys is called Moonfruit. I actually had never heard of it until I was looking up website builders for this video. But nevertheless, this looks really good. And the fact that these all look incredible just means that it's going to be that much harder for us as freelance web designers to get the jobs, to get clients. Okay, so the way that you get clients, and I get asked this from people all the time, the way that you guys get clients, kind of if you think about it, every freelancer really does the same thing. And we like to tell ourselves that, oh, I do it differently than this guy and I'm more personable than that guy. And while definitely that could be true, at the end of the day, we all kind of do the same thing for our clients, and we kind of do it in more or less the same way. So the most important thing, or maybe not the most, but one of the most important things is that you differentiate yourself. And so a few examples of how you can do that are: one, to learn, or not to learn, but to specialize on, say, one specific technology or one language, right? So an example of this would be a WordPress agency. If you Google WordPress agency, you are going to get a ton of companies that specialize in WordPress design, WordPress theme design, WordPress development, so on and so forth for WordPress. But it's only going to be WordPress. That's all they're going to do. And so maybe it's not WordPress for you, but find something that you really like, that you think you can be good at, and specialize on that one technology, that one language, and you can take your chunk of the web and you can make it something great. The next is to target a niche market, and this kind of goes along with focus on one technology or one language. Maybe you want to focus on WordPress e-commerce with a plugin that is called WooCommerce, right? So there's this plugin called WooCommerce, and it basically turns any WordPress website into an e-commerce website. And maybe you want to just tackle that and focus on that specifically, right? Maybe that's all you want to do. And there are companies out there, once again, that's all they do is e-commerce website using WordPress, and more specifically using this plugin called WooCommerce for WordPress, right? So that's one option. Another option, or another example of a niche market, would be, maybe you want to focus on social media, and you want to focus on the best, practices of social media, how to really get the best, not bang for your buck because you're not really paying anything as a client, but the best times to, the most out of social media, basically, is what I'm trying to get at. You want to become an expert in that, right? So that's definitely something else that you can do. So another option, kind of along with the niche market and one specific technology, is to go even a step further and only offer a specific service. Of course, you have to be an expert at whatever service you choose, but one idea would be, of course, to be WordPress e-commerce, as I mentioned before, or social media, as I also mentioned. Another example could be maybe you want to do just specifically, small business small business websites that aren't necessarily e-commerce, but you want to take it a step further and do just pre-made templates, pre-made HTML templates, and you can just sell them to your clients, right? And what you could do is you could have some kind of licensing or whatever that they buy the template from you, and instead of say charging them, $600 to make them a website, you charge them, say, $70. They get the HTML files along with the CSS and maybe some JavaScript if you got it in there, and you just say, here, go for it. Charge them another fee, maybe another $100 if they want you to set it up for them and put all of their content in, but at the end of the day, $170, that's a quick buck for you to make, much, much faster. All you have to do is sell them on some design that you have and say, here are the files, go have fun, right? At the end of the day, you can quick buck. It's cheaper, of course, but you can maybe sell more of them because you're not having to spend all of your time to do a massive $600 website, right? So there's another idea. So the second to last thing I have for you guys is to be innovative. A few years ago, actually, I guess 4 or 5 years ago, responsive web design wasn't mainstream. It wasn't huge. It really wasn't the standard of what everyone does. I mean, right now you have every single website you go to, more or less, is a responsive website. It's responsive. So, but 4 years ago, that really wasn't the case. And the people back then that were making responsive websites were ahead of the curve. So they had an edge on everyone else, right? So if you can you don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be some Steve Jobs-like figure to be able to pinpoint what's coming next. You just have to do what is next, which we'll get into in a sec, and kind of just, have an idea of everything that's out there and just be able to offer as much as possible, right? And that actually leads us into the next thing that I have for you guys, which is to constantly adapt. You can't possibly be always at the forefront of what's going on if you're not willing to adapt. I mean, you have to be constantly learning and constantly learning, constantly paying attention in order to adapt, so that you can have an edge on everyone else, so that you can be innovative, so that you can have that target, that specialty or that expertise in one specific topic or area within the grand picture of web design, right? So a few ways that you can constantly adapt. Be aware of new things in your industry, and ways that you can do that are by look up web design, right? So you guys, you're watching this, you're already watching my videos. If you aren't already, then subscribe, because this is kind of like what I talk about all the time. It's just web design and how to do stuff. But also go out to other people, other YouTube channels or other websites. There's a ton of web design, web development blogs out there that'll teach you guys, even more stuff, right? So ways to be adaptive. The first I have for you guys is to be aware of what's going on in your industry. So you want to be constantly learning, right? Constantly understanding everything that's new, everything that's exciting, everything that people are, not even that people want, because you don't really know what people want yet, because as a client, they don't really know this world. They just see a website and say, oh, that's pretty, I want that for myself, or oh, that's pretty, that does the job, I need that. So they don't really know what they do and don't want. They just know they want something that gets the job done. So as a web designer, you have to always know what's going on so that you can have that edge over your competition. Number two is actually goes hand in hand with that, and that's to always be learning things. You will not succeed, and I guess this is applicable for web design, of course, but for anything in life, you need to constantly be learning. I mean, don't be afraid to pick up a book that you see in Barnes & Noble or on Amazon or on Google or Apple, whatever, and read it. Even if you're not reading the whole thing, just skim through it at the very least. Or don't be afraid if you see something that comes up on Google or on YouTube that says web design, watch the video. It doesn't matter who it's from, watch the video. If you think you could learn something from it, learn how to do it, watch it, enjoy it, take it for what it's worth, and see if there's a way that you could apply it to what you're trying to do so that you can be more successful and ultimately have that edge on your competition. So a third way, and this might be a little bit harder for some of you guys, especially since web design communities are definitely strong in probably, I guess, definitely all the major cities, at least in America. Maybe not so. I don't know about internationally, and I guess as the city gets smaller, then it would be a little bit tougher. But regardless, always, try, if you can, go to some networking events or some conferences where people or other web designers like yourself are talking, and you can see what people are doing and how they're doing it, and you can, one, learn, but two, also build your network and make some connections, and then you'll be able to constantly improve, and it'll just get that much easier once you're at that place. A fourth way is to be flexible. Don't assume that what you're doing now is going to work forever, because to be quite honest, it won't, right? So people that didn't do responsive web design way back when and still aren't doing it right now, I mean, if they aren't doing it now, they're definitely not as successful, because responsive web design is just something that has to be done. It's expected no matter what. I mean, people don't even pay extra now, I don't think, for responsive web design. I mean, it's just something that they assume. They have an expectation that that's going to be a part of the product that they're paying for. The fifth thing, and the last thing for that matter, is to go outside of your comfort zone. You don't have to give up what you're doing. By no means am I telling you to do that. But maybe say, oh, I have this common thing that I do. I'm going to try to do it in a different way. Try to achieve the same result, but in a different way, so that you'll be learning different ways to do things, right? So let's just say, you never know what's going to happen when you're on the job, right? So let's just say something doesn't work the way you want it to, the way you've been doing it for years before. You now have maybe 3 different ways that you can do something, right? So constantly be trying new things, see how things look. You'll never know unless you try. That's such an important rule to live by, right? You'll never know unless you try. So if you think that something could be good, try it. Why not? There's no reason to. Maybe in your spare time, if you're like me and you really enjoy this, I'm always doing new things with websites, right, in my spare time. Just mess around a little bit, see how things look, see how things work. You never know. It could make your next job 10 times easier, right? It could make your next client 10 times more willing to pay the extra bit of money to hire you, right? Or it might make your client even better, willing to tell their friends about you so that they will want to hire you as well. So I hope all that helped. I know this was kind of a long video, but nevertheless, thank you for watching.